Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Illustrated Insights channel. I'm Jenny D, and this week's topic is Object Permanence. Now, if you've not heard of Object Permanence, watch along as I create this art journal page and I chat about what Object Permanence is and how it affects me. So let's get started.
As usual, I'm going to start my page by using a watercolour pencil, and I'm just journaling about this week's topic, and the topic this week is Object Permanence. If you've watched any of our videos, you'll know that I'm not a health professional, but I am a teacher who teaches neurodiverse students, and I have 2 neurodiverse children. I have a wealth of experience in neurodiversity, as well as being neurodiverse myself. So as you watch me make this page today, I'll be chatting about object permanence, what it is and how it affects me, and I'll be describing what's going on in this journal page. So right here I'm adding some water-soluble colours, some bricky colours, and then I add water with a nice soft brush to give myself a nice red wash as the background to my page. I'm using these folk art and Matisse paints in greens and blues with a little bit of white, just to add another layer, a bit of a border around my page. This is a nice soft flat brush, and I just pick up the colours from my palette without ever washing, just making marks on the edges of my page. This time I'm hoping to preserve some of the journaling underneath the layers, just so that it shows through a little. When I was a little girl, I was constantly losing things, and my mother would say to me, "You'd lose your head if it wasn't screwed on." And as I was creating this page, I believed that this was a case of object permanence issues. But when I did some research, I discovered that I was mistaken on my understanding of object permanence. I did believe it was a case of out of sight, out of mind, and that explained why I continually lose things. But the term is actually used as a developmental stage in which we understand that an object still exists even when we can't see it. Some medical professionals state that what I'm experiencing is actually an issue with working memory. But that doesn't explain why I can be looking directly at an object and still not see it, and why I can be holding onto an item, be in direct contact with it, and still drop it because I no longer recognise it as being in my presence. So for me, the jury is still out, but I do recommend you read the 2 articles I've linked in the description and talk to your own health professional. But whether you term it object permanence or working memory, nothing changes for my frustration levels as far as this matter goes. So I decided for this topic it would be fun to make a little house and to put little objects in the windows, and well, at least I won't lose those ones. I'll know exactly where they are. On the left page is where the house is going to go, so again I just go around the outsides of the page. I know the house is going to sit over the top of most of the page. I'm going to do the house as a pen and wash, so I'm using this Arches 300 GSM paper and some carbon paper to transfer my design onto the page. I couldn't find a line drawing of a house that I liked, so I drew my own. If you'd like to recreate this page or use this house in something else, you can download it in our Etsy store. It's just $1, and I'll leave the link in the description below. Using the carbon paper to transfer the design to my page means that the carbon is not water soluble. That means I can do a watercolour wash without fear of it smudging. I just lift up the design now and again just to check that the design is all there. I'm only doing the bones of the design, none of the fine details. I'll add those later with the pen over the top of the wash. I did pencil in a few more of the areas because I realised that I was going to need those areas white and I needed to know where to put them. So to make the wash, I just put some water onto the colours in my palette. Then I paint clean water into the areas where I want the wash to go. So it's just a matter of touching the watercolour paint into those areas, and then it will spread where the water has already wet the page. I can add clean water if I want a little bit more of a washy look, or I can add more paint if I want the area to be more of a solid colour. Make sure you dry the work in between colours, otherwise when you add the water, the old colour is going to bleed into the new area. When you're happy with your wash, make sure you dry it really well before you put the pen work over the top. I'm using an artline 0.6 for the bold lines and a 0.4 for all the fine areas. Artline's a great pen, it gives you a nice solid colour and it'll go easily over a wash. All those little sketchy doodly elements are what makes a pen and wash really work. The house is done, so I'm going to cut it out, and I'm just leaving a white border around the edges so that it will stand out against my rather busy background on the page. And I used a Stanley knife just to cut around those windows so that they would open. Then I glued it to my page with some Yoo-hoo glue, making sure that I didn't glue down the windows. Then I pressed it into my book and added some weight to make sure that it was nice and firmly stuck into my journal. In each little window I did a doodle of all the objects that I'm constantly losing. My glasses, my phone, my keys. For the final bit of whimsy, I used some green acrylic paint and just painted some leaves to make a little bit of a garden around the edge of my house and the page that I'm going to journal on. And I used some pink acrylics to make some rosebuds. Take the paints, paint little circles and little swirls without ever washing the paintbrush. And now it's time to add even more meaning to my page by doing the journaling. I started by writing that phrase, "I'd lose my head if it wasn't screwed on." And then I just jotted down some of my feelings on the object permanence issue. And here's my finished page with all the little windows with the little objects drawn in there. So I'll never lose these ones. I really hope you've enjoyed watching me make this page, and I really hope you make your own page on object permanence. Of course, we'd love to see that. Come and join our community. The link is in the description. And if you've enjoyed this, you can help us out by dropping us a like, and if you subscribe you won't miss the next topic, which is Move It Baby, all about hyperactivity in the body. I'll see you next time.